All right, it is the Chunk Podcast, and we are in Week 14 of the NFL, and I absolutely have no idea how we've gotten so far. It is Week 1 of fantasy football playoffs. One of us has made the playoffs, one of us has not. JJ, were you the one that made the playoffs? I'm not sure. I can't remember.
No, I was not. I'm 0-2 in the Chunk League now.
Okay.
But I've promised myself that I'm going to set aside some legitimate time to do research this year.
Okay.
Rather than scramble before the draft like I do every year.
It is a little bit better when you come in semi-prepared. What's easy is the very first few picks. The first 5 rounds, pretty easy. You just pick the best player available. It's the later rounds, especially in our league, because we do 3 wide receivers, 2 running backs, and 2 flexes. So we're playing these deep scrubs sometimes. That's the ones you got to do the research on, because if you can get yourself a hot little gem, then you can make yourself out pretty decent. So better luck next year. I am playing in the first round. I did not get a first round bye this year. So a lot of people are experiencing the fantasy football playoffs this particular week. So we can go right into the matchups and see if maybe we can find some fantasy studs. I don't know. I mean, the first one here, I know my favorite fantasy stud out of them is because I have them, is Carolina Panthers are taking on the Cleveland Browns in Cleveland. My man, Christian McCaffrey, is literally, he's carrying my whole squad at this point. I don't even know how he's doing it. But, I mean, the Panthers going to Cleveland, who are much better. They're not your average Cleveland Browns, all right? That's all I'm saying. But I'm going to take the Panthers in this one in a pretty close game, though.
Yeah, I'm taking the Panthers as well. They haven't been incredibly impressive, nor have the Browns for that matter. I think you see kind of Baker Mayfield came in really hot this season and has kind of come back to the quote-unquote rookie mean of throwing picks and making all sorts of mistakes, though. Their offense has done better without Hugh Jackson, though. I think Christian McCaffrey is probably your best bet from either of these teams. I have Funchess, and he is mediocre and disappointing every single year. So I will not be drafting him in the future.
Yeah, I expected more from him, obviously, throughout this entire season. But on the Brown side, the running back over there, Nicholas Chubb, is a pretty decent fantasy football running back based off just volume alone. He gets like 20-plus touches a game. He's probably the only person I would bet on scoring a touchdown if the Browns get points in this game. But yeah, we're both going to take the Panthers. Easy pickings. So moving on to the Baltimore Ravens taking on the Kansas City Chiefs. Minus Kareem Hunt, he has suspiciously disappeared from an NFL roster. Obviously, he's got that. It's not quite domestic violence, just violence in general towards a woman and some other people. I don't know if you watched the video, but look like a lot of drunk stumbling and fumbling and bumbling. And obviously, it's a bad look for Kareem Hunt and the NFL. Coincidentally, not seeing this footage when it came out in like February when it happened. So Kareem Hunt no longer there. Spencer Ware steps in at the running back position, who was probably one of the best handcuffs to own in fantasy football if you're holding on to somebody else, hoping somebody goes down with injury. I know a lot of people do that. It sounds horrible, but it is a viable strategy, as I did pick up Spencer Ware 2 days before Kareem Hunt, all this hit the fan. So now I'm the owner of Kareem Hunt, and I don't even have a spot really on my roster to start him. But obviously are red hot right now. And the Ravens with Lamar Jackson haven't lost a game since he's been starting. Where are you going in this one? We've talked about it before. I love Lamar Jackson. Yeah.
I think that, honestly, he gives his chance a better team to win than Joe Flacco does. But I did take the Chiefs in this game. You really can't bet against them. The Ravens are not a top-tier team. And even without Kareem Hunt, they still have Tyreek. They still got Spencer Ware. They still got Mahomes and Travis Kelce. So I just don't see the Ravens winning this game.
Yeah, in Kansas City, I think taking the Chiefs here is a no-brainer. I will admit, you've been high on Lamar Jackson before the season even started. You said he'd be starting at some point this season, and he's played very well. The first game, obviously, he got the win, but he didn't really throw very much. But he also didn't have to. But he has shown competency at the quarterback position, and Joe Flacco, every time they pan to him on the sideline, his face is so sad. One of the saddest faces I've ever seen. It is depressing, but
They might deal him. They should deal him, to be honest.
I think his time is kind of up there in Baltimore for sure.
I mean, that was one of the questions in here when we get to the end of the regular season, folks. We will, Justin, I, and Lynch will revisit our predictions there and, maybe decide if we want to make some edits to our picks. Jaguars.
Effing Jaguars. I hate you so much. Yes, they're so bad.
Why did we ever bet on the Jaguars?
Dude, they looked so good at the end of last year, and we all gave them the benefit of the doubt. But yeah, they definitely dropped off, which
they're the Jags.
So bad.
Yeah. So
hey,
speaking of teams that are looking really good, Deshaun Watson with the Texans.
Yes,
I think the Colts-Texans game is actually going to be one of the better games this week.
Yeah, on paper, absolutely. I'm hoping for a shootout. I think it's got potential for sure to be a good show. These are two really good offenses, and the Colts for sure are catching fire at the right time, and the Texans have been good for a majority of the season moving into the playoffs. They're both hitting their stride, and yeah, like you said, I think this is going to be a great game for sure.
Yeah, I took the Texans, though it is kind of a toss-up, I think. They're both pretty hot right now, and I actually got to give a shout-out to my dad. He is in my other league, fantasy-wise. He just made the playoffs for the first time in 3 years.
Congrats.
And he's been riding the Luck T.Y. Hilton train.
Ooh.
He grabbed Andrew Luck, and he had faith that he'd come back, and I mean, clearly it's paid off. His team is probably disgusting teams in the league.
Yeah, well, comeback player of the year is probably already wrapped up for him, I would imagine. I mean, there might be some other options I'm not really thinking of right now, but to me, Andrew Luck definitely stands out. I thought his career was over at one point, the way that his shoulder was going for like a year and a half, almost 2 years, just being gone. It was a weird situation that they didn't really give a lot of info about. But for him to come back and light it up like he is, they just need to build a team around him. And don't do what the Packers
defense, do. They should be pretty solid.
Yes,
next year.
But like you said, I'm picking the Houston Texans here in Houston. Home game for the Houston Texans. I'll be taking them. Moving on
Agreed.
New England Patriots, your favorite team in the NFL, taking on the Miami Dolphins, who for some reason win games. They haven't really as much of late. But Tannehill actually is back, and they're playing semi-decent. Their offense looks much better, even though for a week there when Brock Osweiler was in, it looked like they had hit another gear, but then all of a sudden he turned out to actually be Brock Osweiler again. But Tannehill's back. This is in Miami, but they're still playing Tom Brady. We probably don't have to spend much. The Patriots are the Patriots, and it's about that time of the year. It's December, so I can't imagine this is going to be a struggle for the Patriots.
I mean, look, I think the Dolphins are overachievers this season.
Oh, yeah.
They're super bad. Their record does not show how bad they are.
They're 6-6, man. They're 500. They should be proud to be 6-6 at this point in the season. It's unbelievable.
But they've been spanked a lot lately. They barely beat the Bills. And they scored 13 points against the Jets. They scored 12 points against the Packers. It's just that. It's a no-brainer. Patriots are going to win. For those of you that own Patriots players, White. I had White this season. I've been pleasantly surprised.
Yeah,
I would probably draft him again as long as. Sony Michel probably is going to get a bigger role forward, but.
Yeah, James White has been. He did kind of plateau halfway through the season. He hit like his peak value, and all of a sudden it is kind of trickling back down. He hasn't been putting up the crazy numbers he obviously was because Sony Michel was hurt, and now he's back, and they're kind of splitting it a little more evenly. Plus Rex Burkhead's now coming back. There's a whole bunch of people in that backfield that are getting touches and getting snaps. So Sony Michel, I do think moving forward next season is probably the focal point of the running backs, and it's unlike Bill Belichick to commit to somebody that hard, but I think they actually like him in a way that I've never seen them like a running back before. But in this matchup, the New York Giants taking on the Washington Redskins. Man, I just don't really want to watch this one. I don't really have any interest in this one at all. And it sucks because Saquon Barkley is unreal. Odell Beckham's always fun to watch, but aside from that, man, I have zero interest in this game.
I've got interest because If you guys didn't notice, the Sanchez
Oh boy.
has returned to the NFL, and he looked just about as good as I expected him to. Through his, his classic traditional interception. And I mean, look, the Redskins, they have a pretty good team, except for everybody is injured. I think they're on their fourth Jesus
Quarterback?
They're on their fourth quarterback, but also their line has just been ravaged.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I mean, they're real rough right now.
They were winning games early.
They were, which is crazy. But I'm taking the Giants.
Wow, yeah. I mean, they're 6-6 right now. The Redskins are, and they were winning games earlier in the season. Alex Smith was very good at just managing the game enough for them to. I never really liked the term game manager. He is a talented quarterback, and he runs a lot more. Well, he ran. He won't be running much more the rest of his career if he even has any more after this. But anyway, he was perfect for this team, I think, and I think they could have had a legit shot at this division had he not gone down. But I mean, their defense is very good, but unfortunately, their offense is just so beaten up that I mean, like you said, I'm going to take the Giants in this one for sure. Just seems like a no-brainer. Maybe
we'll see another touchdown from Odell.
Oh yeah, maybe we'll see another touchdown from Mark Sanchez. I don't know who scores first. We'll have to figure that one out. The New Orleans Saints are going down to Tampa to play the Tampa Bay Buccaneers again. I mean, I don't know how much we really have to harp on this one. Jameis Winston at quarterback. He's probably going to get pulled at some point for Fitzpatrick. Even though they have been playing, he's kind of hit a decent stride. Like he completed an entire game without getting pulled. So I guess I can't really knock him for that. But it is the New Orleans Saints. I don't really anticipate this being much of a problem for the Saints in this one.
Yeah, I mean, we saw some protection problems last week against the Cowboys. They were ravenous.
Oh yes.
But I mean, the Saints are just. You got to be able to outscore them to win the game. And while the Buccaneers do have talented skill players, I just don't think that they have the quarterback to keep up.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I mean, the Saints are looking to come back. They have a bad taste in their mouth. They did get spanked pretty hard last week by the Cowboys. They look like pedestrians out there. So I anticipate they come out here and run it pretty easily. And it should be wrapped up, I would assume, by, if not halftime, the third quarter. First drive, third quarter, definitely. Another game that I am obligated to watch, but I'm not going to be happy about it. It is the Atlanta Falcons taking on the Green Bay Packers. Packers are I think there's like a 0.001% chance that we're still in the playoff hunt somehow. I think like 4 or 5 teams need to lose 3 games. It's going to be a train wreck, but from where they're at right now, they did just fire Mike McCarthy. It finally happened, people. As a Packers fan, it's a great day. It feels good, and I think. And I feel bad because Mike McCarthy did win a Super Bowl for us, and he has been a pretty competent coach. It's just it kind of got stale, and it was time for him to go. Everybody could feel it. The writing was on the wall. And I honestly think maybe this is just me being optimistic because every single week I sit here, and we all do. If you check our picks on our website, thechunkpod.com, we do weekly picks. We always pick the Packers every game, and for the last 4 or 5 weeks, we've just been smacked right in the face. But I think... Am I going to pick them this week? I think I'm going to pick the Packers this week based off of they fired McCarthy. That cloud is now not over their head. There's no I think it's just going to be they're going to come out and just play football with no expectations, nothing hanging over their head. They're just going to play the game. Has his best game of the season.
Yeah, we'll have to also touch on at some point where we think Mike McCarthy's going to land.
Oh man.
But I'm actually taking the Falcons in this one.
Okay.
Both teams have been incredibly disappointing. But I think that without Mike McCarthy, I don't know. Certainly as a fan, it must feel nice to have the monkey off your back. I
yes.
hope that I know what that feels like at some point this offseason. But I think that the Falcons are actually due. They've had some subpar play this year, and I think that they might be able to go and take one from the Packers.
Yeah, and Julio Jones destroys us every single time we play. He'll put up over 200 yards in this game, absolutely, and I won't be shocked at all. And I guess you're right in the fact that Mike McCarthy's now gone. That does feel good. But I promise you, Joe Philbin is not even close to Mike McCarthy's level. Joe Philbin is not great, and he's now the one interim coach, calling the plays, running the shots. I got to imagine Aaron Rodgers is in his ear all week just saying, look, this is what I've been wanting to do all season. Let me do it. Get out of my way. You know what I mean? Like, let us do what we do. I'm hoping that's what's going on because I don't foresee Joe Philbin taking over the football team next season. So this is just going to kind of be, let's go out, let's try to win some games, and maybe he'll get a job somewhere else, moving forward. But I'm expecting them to come out and look totally different, but that's just be me being overly optimistic. Moving on
it'd be nice if Aaron Rodgers was able to go out there and call the plays and find some success, but I just don't.
Yeah,
I think that there is an advantage to trusting your coaches to see what you can't see.
Yeah,
and
I agree. We'll see what I don't know.
We'll see how it goes. See how it goes. I'm not really going to watch that one, I don't think.
Yeah.
Nor am I going to watch the next game. Actually, I'm going to watch it because I'm,
You don't have a choice. Sad. Yeah, it's the only game you paid for.
The Jets and the Bills. I'm taking the Bills. You can't bet on the Jets at this point.
No.
They're definitely in tank mode, and Todd Bowles has lost the locker room. Darney is coming back to play and to start. So you might see some offensive players, trying to make plays for him. But I honestly at this point I hope they lose out because I want that top draft pick.
Yeah.
Maybe they play a good game and like they just lose by a field goal or a bad call by a ref. But I don't want them to win because I don't want to lose out on that draft capital at this point. And the Bills are bad.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. But the Jets just, as a homer, I really want them to have that draft pick.
Yeah, there are only two teams with worse record right now. The Jets are 3-9, the Raiders are 2-10, and the Cardinals are 3-9. How does that make any sense? How can they? Oh wait, no, the Cardinals are 3-9. The 49ers are 2-10. Okay. So the 49ers and the Raiders have worse records. So they're in the hunt. All they have to do is if they lose out, I would imagine that they'd get guaranteed a top 3 pick. I mean, for sure. So yeah, I don't think they're going to win this game. I do think the Bills are trending upwards right now. And as a franchise, for them, I mean, ideally you'd like to be winning games too with your rookie quarterback. I guess I should say that. But the way Josh Allen's been playing, he's been playing pretty decently, and they've been kind of I don't know. They look like a competent team all around. Like their defense has been playing very well. They look like a good team, and I think next year with a little bit of growth, they can be. I won't say a contender, but I think they can go 8-8 and be proud of themselves moving forward.
I
think
this might be one of those games where you just see a whole bunch of turnovers.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I would imagine so, but I think the Bills are the better team. No offense to you, and
I think that they are too at this point. I mean, the Jets just. Their coaching is bad. The offensive line gets penalties 50% of the time and lets up, pressure 25% of the time. And our run game just can't get it started. That's why I really hope we're in the Le'Veon sweepstakes.
Yeah.
But definitely Bills this week.
Yeah.
If you got Ivory, you might want to take him on a flyer. Though our run defense has been decent. Any of their wide receivers are going to tear us up. I think.
Well, I picked up Zay Jones because he had a pretty decent game last week, and 2 weeks ago he had a pretty decent game as well. But in between, he put up a donut. I just lost AJ Green for the rest of the season, so now I literally have to start either Scantling, Zay Jones, or Dante Pettis in my playoffs. So this is where my life is right now. But I may put in Zay Jones. I mean, the connection that he's had there has been pretty decent. But we've talked way too much about this game. Moving on to the Cincinnati Bengals, going to Los Angeles to play the Chargers. The Bengals without Andy Dalton and without A.J. Green. I don't really know. There's not much to say here. I think the San Diego Chargers, or never mind. Every podcast, I say the San Diego Chargers. The Los Angeles Chargers are the much better football team here. I'm taking the Chargers all day.
Yeah, I think that I take the Chargers as well, and I think that they've been quietly making a good case for having a strong playoff run. You don't really hear about them much here on the East Coast, but
Yeah.
they've been winning a lot of good games, and their team looks really good. They haven't suffered from the same injuries, knock on wood, that they have in the past few years.
Yeah, Melvin Gordon, though. Melvin Gordon, they're saying he's going to come back here. This week, they'll probably hold him out one more week, but they're optimistically saying he could come back the following week for them, and he's been their MVP. I mean, well, them and Phillip Rivers, I guess I should say. Phillip Rivers has been playing out of his mind, so they look awesome. I like watching them play. I hate that they're in Los Angeles. That's about sums it up, but I do think they're going to win this one. You're picking the Chargers, too?
Yep.
Okay, cool. Denver Broncos taking on the San Francisco 49ers. I mean, the Broncos they've also another team that's hit a pretty decent stride, and they might make the playoffs. I mean, I'm pretty sure they're in the playoff race right now. They're definitely up there. Oh, never mind. They're 6-6 right now. There's a chance they can make the playoffs.
They're in the hunt.
Yeah.
They're in the hunt, but they got to string some wins together here.
Yes, and they have to string Emmanuel Sanders' Achilles back together too, because he did tear his Achilles in the practice. You hate to see it. You don't like. I mean, obviously you think it happened to Deshaun Watson last season. Practice injuries. I don't know. It just blows my mind. I hate to see it. Obviously, you don't like seeing it in a game, but at least out there, they're going 100%. You'd think in practice, you'd be able to make it through without these kind of injuries happening. But, yeah, it's just a freak accident, and Emmanuel Sanders is definitely out for the rest of the season, and probably a little bit into next season, it's just a bad look. Tore his Achilles in practice. So if you have him on your fantasy team and haven't dropped him yet, the time is now to drop him and find somebody else. I had to do that in my work league. The other league I'm in, I had Emmanuel Sanders, and I have a first-round bye. I have also no wide receivers on my bench because I've been hoarding running backs all season. So it's been another issue. I'm having a lot of wide receiver issues this year. I think next year I might go a little heavier on the wide receivers, but we'll figure that out next year. I think we're both going to pick the Broncos in this one, though, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you can't bet for the 49ers, and right now you can't bet against the Broncos.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay, Philadelphia Eagles taking on the Dallas Cowboys. The Cowboys looked ridiculous last week, and the Eagles have not looked great pretty much all season long. I'm going to take the Cowboys in this one. From what I saw last week, I'm done picking against the Cowboys out of just pure hatred for them. I gotta wise up and start picking them.
Yeah, I mean, I'm taking the Cowboys as well. I think that this game is going to be a little closer than people. The divisional games tend to be, and if the Eagles want any chance of getting to the playoffs, they have to beat the Cowboys this week.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. For sure. This is pretty much do or die from them at this point.
Josh Adams has been doing really well for them as a running back. So if you don't have him and if you're looking for another running back, I would maybe think about him over Corey Clement or Smallwood.
Or Sproles or all the other running backs that they have. But, yeah, you're right.
Sproles had a good game this past week as well. He might be a decent pickup now that he's back from injury.
Yeah,
but
I can't
either way, the Cowboys, their defense was incredible last week. Vander Esch, that dude was everywhere.
He's a stud, dude.
Everywhere.
Yeah, he looked awesome. And in this game, especially in Dallas, I'm taking the Cowboys in this one for sure.
For sure.
Pittsburgh Steelers going to Oakland to take on the lowly Oakland Raiders. I don't really have much to say for the Raiders. I did see something that Marshawn Lynch is, I think, eligible to return or something like that. He was put on IR, but they didn't use the return eligibility on a different player, so he could come back. I don't know what. But they're taking on the Pittsburgh Steelers this weekend. Steelers, I mean, pretty much all day in this one. They're above and beyond much better than the Raiders.
I mean, they are more talented, but they've been pretty disappointing. And apparently Big Ben does not do well when he goes over to the West Coast.
Oh, dude, he's awful on the road in general. Like, I mean, his home road splits are ridiculous. But I mean, they're the much better football team, and the Raiders
you have to pick the Steelers, of course.
Raiders have to win this game. I mean, there's literally no reason. I don't know. It's just they're not in the same position as the Jets. They don't want to win. And especially playing a good team.
This was a tank year the second they got rid of Khalil Mack.
Oh, yeah, which is the beginning of the season, first game. Yeah, they're like, we're calling it. All right, Gruden's blowing it up, but they do have a lot of draft picks. I am curious to see how their offseason goes. They're going to come back with a lot of young players that are going to be good for them. Detroit Lions are going to Arizona to take on the Cardinals. Two disappointing teams, a lot of disappointing teams, really. But I'm not sure which way I'm going to lean here. I may actually pick the Cardinals in this one.
Yeah, I'm actually taking them as well. They've looked pretty decent lately.
They took down my Packers.
David Johnson is wrecking right now, and I just this to me seems like a toss-up, and I'm actually leaning towards the Cardinals for it.
Yeah, I'm going to pick the Cardinals too in Arizona, but I think it's going to be a surprisingly good game. I don't know why. I got a feeling that this is going to be fun to watch, but it's one of 4 o'clock games, or 5 o'clock games. 5 4 o'clock games. That when usually at 4 o'clock the Red Zone channel kind of hits a lull. But I'm going to be curious to see. There's actually quite a bit of games at 4, so this is going to be a fun little Sunday to watch some football. Sunday night football is going to be probably the game of the week, featuring the Los Angeles Rams and the Chicago Bears. With I think Mitch Trubisky's coming back for this one. Yeah, in Chicago. What do you think you're going to see from this one besides cold weather?
Yeah, I mean, I think that this is going to be a really good game, but you can't bet against the Rams, dude. The Bears are incredibly talented, and I really like them. If they beat the Rams, then they are definitely making the case for themselves as legitimate playoff contenders.
Yeah.
But the Rams have weathered the storm. And I don't see them losing.
Yeah, I mean, any team with Todd Gurley, that's pretty much enough to. They're probably going to focus on stopping Todd Gurley, but even then, they're going to be chucking the ball quite a bit. They throw the ball not more than any team, but top 3 for sure. They chuck it all day long, even with Gurley on their team, because they can't focus on both. You can't stop both. What are you going to pick? You have to pick your poison. Do you want to get burned through the air, or do you want to stop Todd Gurley? It's like, I don't know. It's going to be tough for the Bears to compete in this one with their offense. They show up sometimes. I mean, Mitch Trubisky had a 6-touchdown game for some reason earlier in this. I don't know how it happened, but ever since that game, their offense has been on another level. They've actually been much better. I didn't think that they would be this good at this point in his career. I didn't even think Mitch Trubisky was going to be decent in the first place. But having him back will definitely help. However, the Rams are our top 3 team in the league. It's them, the Chiefs, the Saints, and that I'm going to keep picking those 3 teams until the season ends, I think, at this point. And then the Monday Night Football game, Minnesota Vikings taking on the Seattle Seahawks. In Seattle, actually. Where are you going to go with this one? I'm curious.
I took the Vikings.
Okay.
They did lose a tough one last week to the Patriots. Their offense just did not look great. And the Seahawks actually looked pretty impressive, but it was against the 49ers.
Yeah.
So I feel like this game is probably another one of those close games. It really depends on how the defenses play. And also, does Kirk Cousins clean his turnover problems up that he's been having?
Does Diggs play this game? I mean, I haven't seen anything about Diggs, but I know he was having some issues last week, and it seems like every week he's got a hand. Obviously, if he's playing, they're a much better team with Thielen on the field as well. However, I think I'm going to pick the Seahawks in this one in they're going to win by a field goal. I'm thinking it's going to be like a fourth quarter field goal, puts them in the lead, and they wind up winning in Seattle. I don't know why. I got a weird feeling. I'm picking Seattle in this one. Yeah, all right. So I think that's pretty much going to wrap it up for Week 14. Our picks will be up on the website. Well, if you're listening to this right now, they're already on the website. It's thechunkpod.com. You can keep up to date with everything, all of our latest podcasts. We obviously do sports. We do TV. We just did a game review for Pokemon Let's Go. You got to check that one out if you're hanging around here. You could probably just let the podcast keep playing, and it'll take you to the next one. But we appreciate you listening. If you want to get all of our info, it is thechunkpod.com, and we do weekly picks. You can see what we actually pick. You've heard our picks, but there are 4 other chunkers who are making picks as well, and you can see who's right or wrong. I think Reggie right now is currently in the lead. I don't know how he did it. He sniped it. Looked like last second. I don't know what happened, but he's now in the front runner spot.
And if you know friends that fit into the same interest category as you, that listen to play games and watch football or other sports, or even are into the Marvel movies or DC movies, please share the page and the podcast with them. We don't pay to advertise, so word of mouth is really the best way for us to grow. And keep an eye out. We are going to do a episode giving kind of our thoughts on the Red Dead Redemption 2 game that came out.
Yeah.
So if you've been playing that or interested in getting it, check it out. Take a look.
Absolutely. It's at the Chunk Pod on you can search it on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter, pretty much anywhere you can find us. It's at the Chunk Pod. That's the way to do it. And if you're on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, wherever you're listening, we'd love it if you subscribe. Please rate and review if you get some time. We'd love to have that as well. And any suggestions you have, you can always email us at thechunkpod@gmail.com, or just drop us a line on Facebook or whatever social media you have and you want to follow us. That'd be awesome. All right, Chunkers, thanks so much for listening. And if you want to check it out, you can, again, like I said, subscribe, do whatever you can. Stick around for sure. We'll be posting a lot more content here every week with the Chunk. So thanks for listening. See you next time. You're still here? What are you doing here? The podcast is over. I don't even know what you're doing right now. There's nothing left to listen to. Oh, or actually, there is. You just keep listening to the next podcast coming up. That'd be awesome. Thank you.